That's what I like the most about this album, is that sense of like, take me as I am.
Yeah.
About this album, because she's not just trying to play to an audience.
Yeah, no.
There's so many different genres
yeah.
and so many different messages and so many things that she's doing emotionally to create this work that's just really complex and sophisticated, and yeah, it just has a lot of layers and a lot of depth to it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Renegades of the Podcast, a monthly podcast for all of the aliens and the Time Lords, hosted by us, Unheard, Sirens Incorporated. I am Remy.
I'm Juliet.
Yes, and we are a husband and wife duo. We make pop music from an alternate universe. It's our combo of kind of, synth pop and synthwave and other influences.
Coming to you from a portal near you.
Indeed. That's right. We make music for freaks and weirdos like us, and on this podcast, we devote this podcast not only to the music that inspires our creativity, but also like sci-fi and pop culture and fantasy and and art and things that we enjoy going deep on and going really nerdy on. And you are joining us for a very special episode tonight. If this is the first time you've joined us on this podcast, then thank you for doing that. And if you feel so inclined, please check out our music right here on YouTube. And it's on Spotify, and it's on all the things. If you are just now joining us, or you're joining us on YouTube and you're seeing this clip out of this segment and you're wondering why or at least why we are dressed the way we are and have our set things, it's because we just did our whole deep dive into Doctor Who. It is the 60th anniversary of that show, and we are huge fans, and so we talked deep into that. If you want to check that out, you can. I'll point to it up here. If you're on YouTube, you can check it out there. But also, if you're joining us on Spotify, you just heard it, and so hopefully you enjoyed that. Now we're going into our music segment. We always devote the back half of our podcast to something about music, whether it's our Pop Portal segment, where we delve into pop artists we've never heard before, or we do album reviews as well, but also we do a segment regularly. We've started doing it. We've done, I think, a couple of these so far, called Perfect Albums. These are ones that at least one of us considers perfect albums.
Yeah, we've done Portishead's Dummy.
We've done Portishead's Dummy, and we've done Princess Purple Rain. So far, a lot of our perfect albums are something that's, again,
really influenced us in our own music creation.
But the main criteria for being a perfect album is ones that we consider to be 10 out of 10, no skips. These are just the encapsulation. Yeah. They're perfectly encapsulating
song is
what it is they're
wonderful.
trying to do.
Yeah.
And so, like you just alluded to, so far we've done kind of older albums. We did one from the 90s, one from the 80s, kind of ones that we grew up with that kind of informed the way that we create music. But those aren't I especially speak for myself, I think I speak for you as well, those aren't the only ones that qualify as perfect albums. Some are very recent, and this album that we're talking about tonight came out in 2020, talking about Rina Sawayama and her, I believe this was her debut full-length album called Sawayama. And we've talked about Rina a little bit. We've touched on her a few months back when we did our...
Yeah, she had a cameo in the
Charlie XCX on Pop Portal when we first listened to Charlie XCX's music.
Yeah, Rina was a
feature on one of those tracks.
A feature on one of the,
But, and you brought it up as a potential. You were like, should we cover Rina Sawayama on Pop Portal? The trick with Pop Portal, though, and the reason I was like, I don't know about that, is because I was already a fan of Rina Sawayama.
Yeah, which mostly with Pop Portal. We're trying to delve into interesting newer pop artists from the past 10 years, maybe, and past 5 especially, that are creating music that's really influential. It's defining what the word pop or the term pop means to people now. And often, because we are such niche subculture people who were both DJs for many, many years. I was a DJ for 6 years. You were a DJ for more than a decade. Yeah. And so we go deep into the genres we know we love. And we have this very eclectic, very expansive base of influence. For me, like alternative and rock, and for you, kind of more the alternative, like industrial alt and trip hop and all kinds of electronica and dance stuff. And so we both got off the radar of whatever's popular now, because you have the pop stuff that you grow up with as a kid. Right. So you know the pop music up to a certain point. And then if your taste really diverges from pop, you kind of dismiss it after that and you stop listening. So since we make pop music from an alternate universe, we felt as artists we should be more well informed about the thing that's defining pop now. So I thought Rina Sawayama could be a nominee for me from that because she's been
most of the time the artists on Pop Portal we cover, I
her.
want it to be like a blind experience. When we cover artists on Pop Portal, I want it to be like ones that I've heard the name, but like I've heard very little, or if any, of their music. But with Rina, I had already heard this album. I was already a diehard fan. I'm like, this chick brings it. And so I say, I think her album Sawayama should be a nominee for Perfect Album.
And so I knew some of the tracks from it, but I didn't know the album as a whole. So I'm still coming in fresh to this episode as someone who had heard a few of her tracks, was definitely a fan of her music, very intrigued by her as an artist, and glad to sample this in terms of his nomination, that this for him is a perfect album.
So like I said, Rina Sawayama, her album Sawayama, it came out in 2020. This was an album I first got hip to thanks to a YouTube channel I watch frequently, Crash Thompson. He used to be known as The Rock Critic. Now he goes by his own name, Crash Thompson. He does music reviews, and his music taste I tend to vibe with. I discovered another album that'll probably come up on Perfect Albums in the coming months as well through him. I heard about this album and I gave it a chance. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty damn awesome. This is like... I think this album, I guess it's kind of the alternative pop world, but this body of work that she has released is it's kind of like what I wish more pop music would be. Yeah. As everything about it's what smacks you in the face instantly is the way it blends genre. Yeah. The way some tracks sound like rock, sound like straight up like nu metal kind of rock, but then there's some that are very R&B and kind of that kind of vibe, kind of very 90s R&B, which very much scratches an itch for me. I kind of grew up in the 90s with that kind of taste of R&B. You're talking, your Salt and Peppers and TLC and stuff like that, and stuff, people who would be musical guests on A Living Color, that kind of era of R&B. And there's some tracks on this album that scratch that itch for me, but overall it's just all the tracks on this are bangers, or straight bangers. So what are your overall thoughts of this album? I'm very curious.
Yeah, I really found it interesting because the album as an art form is going away because people stream tracks, right? And there's just a new release, and every new release is sort of a standalone thing. Yeah. So building a body of work to create an album is something artists still treasure, but fans not as much. And so some artists now then, especially something released in 2020 from someone who's more in the pop area, might have just disregarded. You're just going to call it an album when you have 10 or 14 of them to put together and you put it out. Sure. But this, I think, was... an exploration of everything she's capable of doing and everything she's capable of being. And she was not just going to be one thing and then one trick pony it and keep doing the same thing. That it's very, very different across tracks, the tone and the content, and some are more straight ahead pop tracks, and there's a little bit of the electronic auto-tuney kind of thing that she plays with. And some are really sung, and some are more almost spoken, some tracks you could listen and you wouldn't know that in another track she's going to hit some note and sound like opera diva. She has a lot of range as a vocalist, and I really enjoy learning each track something different about her her take on reality and the stuff she's choosing as themes and grappling with is not all from the same tone. There are positive things. There's very negative things. She's keeping it real. Like, I just felt like it's raw a lot of times, and you know, self-effacing and grappling with her history as an Asian person, like growing up mostly in Britain with Japanese ancestry, and you know, there's tracks like Dynasty, and there's multiple references to her mother or father in various tracks. You know, there's a beautiful track near the end of the album called Chosen Friends. Chosen Family. That's about how many of us live our lives, that that many of the people that we love and hold to be our family, we're not our born blood biological family, but the people we have taken in our lives as our family. And so she has a gorgeous song.
Which is definitely subject matter like, we've written about. We have a track called Family Values, which that's one of our way older tracks, which I'm going to make a newer version of soon. But that's what I was writing that song about. And so when she's talking about chosen family, I'm like, preach, sister. I know exactly what you're talking about. And what's
interesting about that, it's like next to last track on the album. It's extremely strong track. I like that the strong tracks are throughout. And it's probably the biggest love song on the whole album. And it's a love song to her chosen family. And I love that. It's like when you have a beautiful, brilliant love story, and it's not romantic sex love between characters. It's like she has a love story on this album. And the biggest demonstration of that is the Chosen Family song. And so I completely relate to that. And I think it's such an anthem for so many of us in the world today, that we're making our way and finding family, and we're all dealing with this ancestor and parent and what it means and what cultures we come from, and this clash of cultures in the world that we live in, because she has STFU, her angriest track on the album.
That track is
a brilliant
so good.
Music video,
banger,
and a brilliant freaking track. It's more like industrial music, and it has these raging guitar lines going on, and it's just oh my god! And it has like an entire scene, an entire shot scene in the music video before the song hits to show you why she's saying STFU, which says shut the fuck up, and it's like the cultural insensitivity that she experiences, the amount of bias she experiences with all these assumptions laid on Asian women, and so she's on this like blind date or first date, this awful date with some raging asshole guy, this white British dude who is just obviously the amalgamation of so many dates and so many interactions in so many ways, that as an Asian woman, like, she's assumed to not be a native speaker, she's assumed to not be fluent in English, it's assumed if she's a musician she would just create J-pop.
I love the whole like the whole sentiment, the song construction, the way it's this big like middle finger, but it's like wrapped in like not only just like rock riff, which is great, but also like when she breaks into like a pop singing and she sweetly like croons, "Have you ever thought about taping your big mouth shut? Because I have many times." And she like croons it.
About taping your big mouth shut? Because I have many times.
It's great. Oh my god.
Many times.
Yeah. Like,
have you ever thought about taping your big
it gets
mouth
stuck in your head.
I have many times.
It's such a great like earworm.
And it's this little like baby, like sing-songy sweet, like, you know, like very, very, if you weren't listening to the words, you could think that little lick is a sort of saccharine, cotton candy pop lick. And the voicing, like the way she's giving that voice is so different, because then she's like, raw, and she just like busts out. It's so, oh my god.
I also love when she's like laughing, goes, ha 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 ha. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. And
I love that. And I love that stuff as like a, you know, punk rock kid who's always wants to like say the right, you know, fuck you to the people who deserve it. I'm like, when you can do that do that right, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. And you know, another track that gets stuck in my head all the time is Bad Friend.
Oh, Bad Friend. That's my other like standout favorite.
I'm a bad friend.
That one.
And it just, it haunts my brain, because from the very first time we were on a road trip, and I was like, hey, show me something new that I don't know yet. And Remy started playing me his favorite tracks by Rina Sawayama. And that was years ago. That was at least 3 years ago.
I think when I first discovered this album.
Yeah, that we were like driving somewhere, and
he
he's just started playing the tracks, and I was like, whoa, what? And Bad Friend has been stuck in my head since 2020.
Yes, that is another one of my... Yeah.
And she's owning that she has deep regrets and that she's been a bad friend. So there's like STFU like out there of like the rage and the anger and the misunderstanding and having to survive and figure out how to be in this world can be really difficult, really painful. And it's easy to look out. But then she has Bad Friend, which is like looking in and being and just like creating this like anthem that's so catchy, and it's such a like, sounds to me like it'd be a club hit. Like it's just so damn good. And as a pop song, it's really, really good. And it's very self-deprecating. It's just her trying to also hold herself accountable. And I respect that for someone, like all the different themes she's encountering on this album. I respect all the themes she's encountering. I feel like some of the Pop Portal people that we've reviewed in previous episodes on the podcast, for me, got too stuck in too narrow and kind of immature areas of the world. So just every song is about I like boys, and like I have a crush on this one, or I'm gonna have sex with that one, or look, I'm attractive, or I want to kill myself and I'm really sad. These are important things. Attraction and sex and mental health and feeling down are really, really important. But if it's only there, if you can only go there, that's the entire sum of your range as an artist. You're just cutting yourself off from so much more, because I'm sure every one of those artists is experiencing so many things. And then I feel like only creating work in a very narrow, people are going to receive it well place. And Rina obviously does not give a shit. She's creating work. She's just creating work, and it's going to be received or not. And that's what I like the most about this album, is that sense of like, take me as I am about this album, because she's not just trying to play to an audience. There's so many different genres and so many different messages and so many things that she's doing emotionally to create this work that's just really complex and sophisticated, and it just has a lot of layers and a lot of depth to it.
And you just mentioned my standout. I love the whole album, but my standout tracks are STFU and Bad Friend. And Bad Friend is, and for very different reasons, STFU is this great, like, you know, fuck you anthem, and Bad Friend like almost like brings me to tears. Like it's not a subject matter that I can necessarily like relate to per se, but like I empathize so much. Like I get that sentiment of like, she feels like she's like
let people down, but she actually loves. And she wasn't there.
Been a letdown
and
for her friends,
sucked.
Which is not a subject matter you hear about maybe like at all in like pop music. Like I can't think of one, but like that is such a like it like again when that chorus hits, I'm like, waterworks. I'm like, man, like you can feel like there's a real like pain behind that song, for sure, and a real like guilt of like, you know, letting your friends down kind of thing. Like
what's the last song on the album? What's the
title? Called Snakeskin.
Snakeskin. I will say that Snakeskin is another like sleeper hit. The writing and the arranging in that song is really, really brilliant. And, you know, it's like this sort of sleeper hit at the last song of the album. But it's like, Snakeskin is really, really interesting. And I really respect the theme and like the music of the Chosen Family. I think that's really great. And then I also really like the song Excess, which has a disturbing and brilliant music video as well. That I highly recommend. I don't know that you would understand.
Home shopping channel. Like,
I don't know if you would understand Excess, what she's wanting to communicate without the video, because she's doing the song so straight ahead as a celebration of loving excess. We're material girls living in a material world, and now we all want excess, and we deserve it because we're just amazing and we just need more. You might hear that as a standalone thing and not know her or her work and just think she is just celebrating and glamorizing excess.
There's an element to
in the video. It's dark. It's dark. She's trying to point a mirror to people that only want to celebrate excess and like point out that there's a literal horror aspect to what they're doing, and it's so much deeper. That's a really great pop song, but the video shows you what she actually wants to communicate from the song.
There's like an element to Rina's songwriting that feels like it's like Madonna but better. It's like if Madonna actually had shit to say, like
I mean, there's a big reason I just referenced Madonna in that song, because I feel like there is this legacy, this inheritance, and I think of it, you know, with Lord's breakaway, you know, hit with the, you know, with the I don't come from that zip code,
Royals,
and, you know, the Royals, and never be Royals, and you know, all that stuff, and dropping all the names of all the different like things she wanted. and there's such a tradition in rap music and pop music of glamorizing the 1% and all of the haute couture life and dropping brand names and including them in your songs. And she does it in that song, and she does it also in, oh my gosh, what's it? There's another one that has a lot of that. I think it might be Comme des Garçons.
Comme des Garçons,
Boys, that has little drops of things. But she's poking fun at it. She's like trying to draw attention to the darker aspect, the shadow aspect of it. Yeah. And I really, really like that, because I feel like other things sometimes just name drop to name drop, but I feel like she's doing it for a really damn good reason. In how she's including it in those two different tracks. And I think the Comme des Garçons, like the Boys, is really cool too, because she, in that music video, is also dressed as a male character. Yeah. And then there's also the very female character, and it's all that I am so confident, like the Boys. I'm confident. And it's catchy as all get out. So I think that might be my third top favorite on the album. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with you on meets criteria for perfect album. And even some of the songs like that, I can't tell you everything about why I love them all now. I have listened to the whole album multiple times, and they're going to keep coming forward. So there's just like the standout things that I'm relating to and I'm picking up, but each time I'm listening through, there's new things I'm liking about other things. And there's just pieces of how it relates to references across songs and across lyrics of she's not trying to necessarily make a reference to a particular song, but it's just her vernacular, like the things she's thinking about, the themes that are coming up and the words she's writing. I'm seeing how they're connecting, and I'm really interested to, see where she goes as an artist. Yeah, same. I think my other standout track that I have to mention is "Love Me for Me," because it really sounds like that '90s R&B like vibe that I'm like, I really get down. Like, I really like it. And again, it's just that super catchy songwriting. Again, I feel like this isn't fluffy. I don't listen to this and I don't feel like I'm getting like empty calorie like statements with this, like we kind of do with a lot of pop music, sadly, is that it doesn't feel like it has a whole hell of a lot to say, whereas this feels like there's some real depth and there's some real pain here in the songwriting and the very catchy songs, but there's like and also just like the blend of genres, like these things maybe shouldn't work together, like the things that bounce between like R&B and like maybe newer pop, and then but then throwing some straight up rock at you, like stuff in STFU, and I think Dynasty as well, and Who's Gonna Save You Now is another great one that almost is mixed and produced like it sounds like a live track, but it isn't, and so that's really cool. But yeah, she's definitely one I'm going to be keeping my eyes on for sure. Yeah. And I think like as just random fun facts here, I think like I saw that she actually made an appearance in one of the John Wick movies, like either 3 or 4. Like she's like one of the characters in that, so like that's fun. So yeah. Yeah. She's an amazing artist, so I look forward to seeing her, whatever she does. I'm sure she's probably going to end up with cool sculpture, and then she's going to have an interesting film career, and she's going to still be doing really great music and maybe start a fashion line. Like, I just think this is also a woman that can do freaking anything. Again, random thing. Apparently, like the people who are like really into Rina Sawayama are queer, which, I'm doing nothing whatsoever to go against that that stereotype. We are letting all of our freak flags fly. Exactly. So and playing with getting outside of gender and mocking gender stereotypes and not being taken for granted. And I think the way she's confronting Asian identity and the stereotypes that Asian people have to deal with around the world for sure. is just vital, and it's needed. I love that she created a song about being so confident. It's just like, fuck yeah. Like, I want bold voices from underrepresented groups out there in the mix, in the mainstream, helping to wake people up and helping to share a more diverse array of experiences, and not trying to just turn all their experiences into something that feels more like dominant paradigm, but like coming at it in their own way because of who they are, and that they have a richer and not the dominant paradigm series of experiences and ancestry to share. I just think it's awesome. Yeah. So super love getting her in my wheelhouse, knowing more about this.
100%. And also, like, it's probably something we'll take inspiration from as far as our own material. Like I don't get me wrong, I love this kind of synth pop, synthwave textures and stuff that we're playing with in the kind of the quote unquote genre box that we're fitting in at the moment. But I've always, I've never,
we don't fit well
our
in
music
boxes.
has never fit well in boxes anyway. We do, you know.
We're not people that fit well in boxes.
It's like, I've always seen our project, our Unheard Sirens Incorporated, I've always seen our music as being genre fluid, as being able to to have different eras and go creatively where we want to go. And so hearing an album like this, which plays with genre so much and can really do whatever the song needs it to do, that's very inspiring for me. And I think I'll definitely take inspiration as we, you know, in the coming years, as we progress our creativity and our material. So it's definitely something that I look to as far as not only creating catchy songwriting that gets stuck in your head like an earworm, but also like stuff that doesn't have to fit directly into any sort of box whatsoever. That is hugely inspiring for me as an artist. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. And so if you haven't checked this out, complete recommend. Like, go check out Rina Sawayama.
Rina Sawayama, definitely.
Check out any of the songs we've mentioned. Listen to the whole album if you can. It is worth the investment of time.
It is definitely worth your time and your ears.